The mining vessel. Determination drifted through the asteroid belt like a metal whale hunting for precious stones. Captain Sarah Chen watched the scanner displays from her command chair, her weathered hands gripping the armrests as another day of fruitless searching stretched ahead. The ship had been out here for 8 months, far from Earth's protective embrace, searching for rare Earth elements that could fund humanity's next wave of colonial expansion. "Still nothing on the deep scanners, Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. His young face showed the strain of months in deep space. "Just rocks and ice." Sarah nodded grimly. The Determination carried a crew of 43 souls, all volunteers who had signed up for what was supposed to be a 6-month survey mission. Corporate had promised rich deposits based on preliminary scans, but space had a way of making liars out of the most confident predictions. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb approached the captain's chair, his massive frame making the bridge feel smaller. "Captain, we're burning through our reserves faster than anticipated. If we don't find something substantial in the next 2 weeks, we'll need to abort and head home." Before Sarah could respond, the ship's proximity alarms began shrieking. Every head on the bridge snapped toward the main view screen as something impossible materialized before them. A vessel unlike anything in human databases hung in space, its hull seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Determination, with organic curves that suggested it had been grown rather than built. "Contact!" Torres shouted over the alarms. "Unknown vessel bearing 27 Mark IV. It just appeared out of nowhere, Captain. No warp signature, no engine trails. It's like it materialized from nothing." Sarah felt ice forming in her veins. First contact protocols raced through her mind, but none of them had prepared her for this. The alien ship hung motionless, silent as death itself. "All stop," she ordered. "Torres, try to establish communication on all frequencies. Webb, get our defensive systems online, but don't power weapons unless I give the word." The bridge fell into tense activity. Communications crackled with static as Torres cycled through every known frequency. The alien vessel remained unresponsive, a dark shadow against the star field. Then it began to move. The ship approached with fluid grace, its movements too smooth for conventional propulsion. As it drew closer, details became visible on its hull. Strange markings covered its surface, symbols that seemed to shift and writhe when observed directly. Ports opened along its flanks, revealing weapons that pulsed with malevolent energy. "Captain, they're targeting us," Webb reported, his voice tight with controlled fear. "Multiple lock-ons across our hull." Sarah's training kicked in. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Prepare to transmit our surrender on all frequencies." But the aliens weren't interested in surrender. The first energy beam lanced out from the alien vessel, striking the Determination's engine section. The ship shuddered as power fluctuated throughout the hull. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in hellish red as system after system failed. "Direct hit to the main reactor!" Webb shouted over the chaos. "We're losing containment. I need to get to engineering." Another beam struck home, this one targeting the communications array. The bridge plunged into sparks and smoke as consoles exploded around them. Sarah tasted blood as a fragment of metal cut her cheek. "Evacuation protocol," she commanded, her voice cutting through the din. "All hands to escape pods. This is not a drill." The crew of the Determination moved with practiced efficiency, even in the face of death. Years of training and simulation had prepared them for this moment, though none had imagined it would come at the hands of beings from another world. The alien ship continued its methodical destruction of the human vessel. Each weapon strike was precisely placed to disable rather than destroy outright. They wanted the humans alive, though for what purpose, Sarah couldn't imagine. In the chaos of evacuation, something unexpected happened. Junior engineer Lisa Park, barely out of the academy, had been working in the lower decks when the attack began. Instead of heading for the escape pods, she made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Lisa accessed the ship's experimental quantum communication array, a prototype device that could send messages instantaneously across vast distances. The technology was untested and dangerous, requiring enormous power to function. As the ship died around her, she rerouted all remaining energy into the device. Her fingers flew over the controls as she composed a message that would change everything. She detailed the attack, described the alien vessel in precise technical terms, and included the complete sensor logs of the encounter. Most importantly, she embedded the ship's location and the trajectory of the alien vessel. The quantum burst fired just as the alien ship's final weapon strike crippled the Determination's life support systems. The message raced across space faster than light, carrying humanity's first proof that they were not alone in the universe. Lisa Park died at her station as the atmosphere vented into space, but her sacrifice would not be forgotten. The alien vessel, satisfied with its work, began tractoring in the escape pods. One by one, the small craft were drawn into the massive ship's belly. The surviving crew members found themselves prisoners of beings that defied description. The aliens were tall and gaunt, with limbs that seemed to bend in too many places. Their faces were hidden behind masks of polished metal, but their eyes glowed with cold intelligence. They moved through their ship with the confidence of apex predators, beings who had never known fear or defeat. Captain Sarah Chen, nursing a broken arm and several cuts, found herself in a holding cell with 12 other survivors. The walls were smooth and featureless, glowing with their own inner light. There were no visible doors or controls, no way to escape. "What do they want with us?" whispered Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's physician. Her normally steady hands shook as she examined the wounded. Sarah had no answer. The aliens had shown no interest in communication, treating the humans like specimens to be collected rather than intelligent beings deserving of contact. Whatever their purpose, it boded ill for the human race. Hours passed in silence. The aliens provided neither food nor water, though the cell's atmosphere remained breathable. Sarah began to suspect they were being studied, observed by unseen sensors that cataloged their every move and word. It was Chief Engineer Webb who first noticed the subtle vibration in the ship's hull. His experienced ear detected the thrumming of massive engines coming online. "We're moving," he announced quietly to the others. "Big ship like this probably has faster-than-light capability." Sarah felt a chill of dread. If the aliens could travel between stars as easily as they had appeared in the asteroid belt, then Earth itself might be in danger. The quantum message Lisa had sent might be humanity's only warning. The alien ship accelerated away from the debris field that had once been the Determination, carrying its human cargo toward an unknown destination. Behind them, the scattered wreckage slowly dispersed into the cosmic void, the only evidence of humanity's first contact with hostile alien intelligence. But Lisa Park's message continued its journey toward Earth, racing ahead of the alien vessel at the speed of thought itself. The quantum burst would reach human space in days, while the alien ship would take weeks or months to cover the same distance. Humanity would have time to prepare, time to ready their defenses and warn their colonies. The question was whether they would believe the impossible message and act upon its warnings. As the alien ship vanished into the depths of space, carrying Captain Chen and her surviving crew toward an uncertain fate, one thought dominated Sarah's mind. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated human determination, human ingenuity, and most importantly, human memory. Somewhere in the darkness ahead lay their destination, but behind them, growing closer with each passing hour, was something the aliens could never have imagined. a race that had clawed its way from the caves to the stars, a species that had survived ice ages and wars, plagues and disasters. The aliens thought they were taking prisoners. What they had actually done was ensure that humanity would know its enemies, would understand their capabilities, and would prepare for war. The determination was gone. But its legacy lived on in Admiral Catherine Morrison stood before the holographic display in the war room beneath Geneva, watching the impossible data stream across her field of vision. The quantum message from the determination had arrived 36 hours ago, and the implications were still sinking in throughout the halls of Earth's military command. "The signal authentication checks out," reported Colonel James Hayes, head of strategic intelligence. "It's definitely from the determination, transmitted using their experimental quantum array. The technical specifications of the alien vessel match nothing in our databases." Admiral Morrison nodded grimly. At 58, she had commanded Earth's growing fleet through 3 colonial rebellions and countless pirate incursions. But nothing had prepared her for this. Hostile alien contact was the nightmare scenario that military planners had whispered about for decades. "What's our current fleet disposition?" she asked, turning to the tactical display that showed human military assets across known space. "We have 43 warships of destroyer class or larger," Hayes replied. "The dreadnought, Invincible, is our heaviest hitter, supported by 12 cruisers and 30 frigates. Most are scattered across the colonies on patrol duty." Morrison studied the numbers with growing unease. The human fleet had been designed to fight other humans, to suppress rebellion and maintain order across the growing colonial empire. Their weapons were kinetic railguns and nuclear missiles, their armor designed to withstand human weapons. Against unknown alien technology, they might as well be throwing rocks. "How long until this alien ship reaches Earth?" she asked. "Based on the trajectory data from the determination, approximately 8 weeks, Hayes calculated. "That's assuming they maintain a steady course and don't possess faster-than-light capabilities beyond what we've observed." 8 weeks. Morrison felt the weight of humanity's survival settling on her shoulders. In 8 weeks, they had to prepare for a war against an enemy they didn't understand, using weapons that might be completely ineffective. "Issue immediate recall orders to all fleet elements," she commanded. "I want every ship within 6 weeks' travel time of Earth to return immediately. Begin emergency production of our heaviest warships at Luna shipyards, and get me a direct line to the Colonial Senate." As her staff rushed to carry out the orders, Morrison reflected on humanity's position in the galaxy. They were barely 2 centuries removed from their first steps into space, with only 17 colonial worlds and a handful of mining stations scattered across a mere 30 light-years of space. They were infants in cosmic terms, and now they faced their first real test of survival. The Senate session was chaos. Representatives from across human space argued and debated while precious hours ticked away. Some demanded proof beyond a single quantum transmission. Others called for immediate evacuation of Earth's population to the outer colonies. A few even suggested attempting to negotiate with the aliens. Morrison watched the political theater with growing frustration. She had seen this before during the colonial crises. The endless debate while real threats demanded immediate action. Politicians lived in a world of compromise and discussion. Military commanders lived in a world where hesitation meant death. "The evidence is clear," she told the assembled representatives via hologram from the war room. "An alien vessel destroyed the mining ship Determination without provocation, captured survivors, and is now heading toward Earth. We have 8 weeks to prepare our defenses or risk the complete annihilation of human civilization." Senator Patricia Williams, representing the inner colonies, leaned forward in her chair. "Admiral, you're asking us to authorize the largest military mobilization in human history based on a single transmission. The economic cost alone would be staggering. The cost of inaction would be our extinction. Morrison replied coldly. I'm not asking for authorization, Senator. I'm informing you of my intentions. The Colonial Defense Act gives me emergency powers in case of external threat. I'm invoking those powers now. The session erupted in protests and legal challenges, but Morrison had already cut the connection. She had neither the time nor the patience for political games when humanity's survival hung in the balance. The mobilization began within hours. Ships throughout human space received flash priority orders to return to Earth immediately. Colonial governors were ordered to begin evacuation of non-essential personnel to the outer systems. Every shipyard in human space switched to wartime production, working around the clock to build humanity's last line of defense. Dr. Sarah Kim, head of the Theoretical Weapons Division, presented her findings to Morrison 3 days into the mobilization. The slight Korean scientist looked exhausted, having worked non-stop since the alien message arrived. We've analyzed every detail of the determination's sensor logs, she reported. The alien weapons appear to be directed energy beams of extraordinary power. Their ship shows no visible propulsion system, suggesting either reactionless drive technology or something beyond our current understanding of physics. Morrison studied the technical readouts with growing concern. What are our chances against technology like this? Dr. Kim hesitated before answering. Conventional weapons would be largely ineffective against their energy shielding. However, I believe we have one significant advantage. They don't know about our nuclear arsenal. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. Explain. The Determination was a mining vessel, armed only with small defensive lasers. The aliens may believe all human technology is similarly primitive. Our nuclear weapons, particularly the new fusion warheads, could penetrate their defenses if we can deliver them effectively. It was a slim hope, but it was something. Morrison authorized Dr. Kim to begin immediate work on new delivery systems, ways to get nuclear weapons close enough to the alien vessel to cause significant damage. As Earth's defenses took shape, a parallel effort was underway on the outer colonies. Engineers and scientists worked feverishly to prepare humanity's fallback positions. The deep space stations and remote worlds that might become humanity's last refugees if Earth fell. The mining station at Titan was converted into a fortress, its massive industrial facilities retooled to produce weapons and ammunition. The agricultural world of New Geneva began stockpiling food and medical supplies for potential refugees. Every human outpost became a link in a defensive chain stretching across 30 light-years of space. But it was on Earth itself where humanity's greatest preparation took place. The orbital defense platforms, originally built to intercept asteroids and space debris, were retrofitted with nuclear missile launchers. The moon's surface bristled with new weapons emplacements, turning humanity's nearest neighbor into a heavily armed fortress. Admiral Morrison established her headquarters on Luna, coordinating the defensive preparations from the ancient crater of Mare Imbrium. From her command center, she could see the blue marble of Earth hanging in the black sky, beautiful and fragile, and utterly dependent on the success of her efforts. The first ships began arriving from the outer colonies in the 5th week. The heavy cruiser Stalingrad was first to dock, followed by a steady stream of destroyers and frigates. Each ship brought news from the frontier, reports of normal operations and peaceful trade that seemed to belong to another universe. Captain Maria Santos of the Stalingrad met with Morrison to discuss fleet deployment. The veteran officer had fought in the Martian Independence War and bore the scars to prove it. "Admiral, my ship's been out there for 2 years," she reported. "We've seen nothing unusual, no sign of alien activity beyond the Determination incident. Are we certain they're really coming?" Morrison gestured to the tactical display showing the predicted alien approach vector. "The math is solid, Captain. Based on their departure trajectory and estimated speed, they should arrive within the next 3 weeks. We have to assume they're coming and prepare accordingly." As more ships arrived, Morrison faced the challenge of welding them into an effective fighting force. The human fleet had never operated as a unified command, with ships scattered across the colonies on independent missions. Training exercises began immediately, with vessels practicing formation fighting and coordinated attacks. The breakthrough came in the 7th week, when Dr. Kim's team completed their new weapon system. The quantum disruption torpedo was a desperate gamble, a nuclear warhead wrapped in exotic matter that could theoretically penetrate energy shields. "The theory is sound," Dr. Kim explained to Morrison and the fleet commanders. "The exotic matter creates a localized space-time distortion that should bypass their defensive systems. We've only had time to build 12 of them, but each one carries a 50-megaton warhead. 12 weapons to stop an alien invasion." Morrison felt the weight of impossible odds, but she had learned long ago that victory often went to the side that refused to accept defeat. The alien ship arrived exactly when predicted, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Morrison watched from Luna Command as the sensors picked up the massive vessel, its dark hull absorbing radar and LiDAR scans like a hole in space itself. "Signal from the alien vessel," reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Park. "It's the same energy signature we saw in the determination logs." Morrison nodded grimly. The aliens were announcing their presence, confident in their superiority and perhaps expecting immediate surrender. They were about to learn that humanity didn't surrender easily. "Fleet positions?" she asked. "All ships in position, Admiral," Captain Santos reported from the Stalingrad. 41 vessels ready for combat, quantum torpedoes armed and distributed among our heaviest units. Morrison took a deep breath, knowing that the next few hours would determine whether humanity survived as a free species or perished in the cold vacuum of space. The aliens had started this war by destroying the Determination and capturing her crew. Now they would learn the price of underestimating human resolve. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," she transmitted to the fleet. "The enemy that destroyed the Determination has come to finish what they started. They think we're primitive. Defense. The alien vessel, Harvester Prime, glided through the outer solar system like a predator returning to finish its hunt." Commander Zethkri stood on the ship's nerve center, his elongated form towering over the control matrices that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he could see the yellow star that warmed the primitive world ahead. "Status of the specimens?" he inquired, his words transmitted through direct neural interface rather than spoken aloud. The Vectar had evolved beyond the crude limitations of vocal communication eons ago. "The humans remain viable," responded Scientific Coordinator Yixmol. 43 specimens were collected from the mining vessel. They show remarkable adaptability to captivity, though their crude attempts at communication persist. Zethkri felt a flicker of what other species might call amusement. The humans were so delightfully primitive, still relying on acoustic vibrations to exchange information. The Vectar had cataloged over 300 species across the galaxy, and few showed such charming backwardness. "Have they shown any signs of advanced technology deployment?" he asked. "Negative, Commander. Our long-range sensors detect only basic chemical propulsion and primitive electromagnetic signatures. The homeworld appears to possess a small fleet of vessels using projectile weapons and nuclear fusion. Standard harvesting protocols should be more than sufficient." Zethkri nodded his elongated head. The Vectar Empire had been collecting specimens for over 10,000 years, gathering genetic material and behavioral data from across the galaxy. Earth was simply the latest addition to their vast biological catalog, notable only for the amusing aggression its inhabitants had shown. "Begin approach to optimal harvest position," he commanded. "Deploy collection pods and prepare the processing facilities. We'll take a representative sample of the population and sterilize the rest. What Zethkri didn't know was that every movement of his ship was being tracked by humanity's most sophisticated sensors. On Luna Command, Admiral Morrison watched the alien vessel's approach with the cold focus of a professional soldier. "Range?" she asked quietly. 400,000 kilometers and closing," reported Tactical Officer Commander Hayes. "Speed steady at .02 light speed. They're not trying to hide their approach." Morrison studied the tactical display showing the positions of her 41 warships. The fleet was arranged in 3 defensive layers, each designed to force the aliens into a specific engagement pattern. The first layer would conduct hit-and-run attacks to test alien defenses. The second would deliver the main assault using conventional weapons. The third held the quantum torpedoes for the killing blow. "Signal from the alien vessel," announced communications. "Same pattern as before. Broad-spectrum energy pulse." "Ignore it," Morrison ordered. "They can talk after we're finished with them." The battle began at 300,000 kilometers when the first wave of human ships broke cover from behind lunar satellites. 12 frigates led by Captain Rodriguez in the Santiago opened fire with their heaviest railguns, sending streams of hypervelocity projectiles racing toward the alien vessel. The results were devastating, but not in the way humanity had hoped. The alien ship's defensive systems activated automatically, creating a shimmering barrier of energy that vaporized the incoming projectiles like raindrops hitting a fusion reactor. Not a single round reached the target. "First wave reporting no effect," Rodriguez transmitted grimly. "Their shields are completely impervious to kinetic weapons." But Morrison had expected this. The first wave's real purpose was intelligence gathering, and the data flowing back to Luna Command was invaluable. Dr. Kim's team analyzed the shield harmonics in real time, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. "Shield frequency is cycling at regular intervals," Dr. Kim reported. "There's a microsecond gap every 14 seconds where the field generators reset. If we can time our attack perfectly..." The alien response came swiftly and with devastating efficiency. Energy beams lanced out from Harvester Prime, striking 3 human frigates with surgical precision. The vessels simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. "Holy God," whispered someone on the command channel. "Stay focused," Morrison commanded sharply. "Second wave, execute Alpha Protocol." The second wave consisted of 18 destroyers and cruisers, led by Captain Santos in the Stalingrad. They attacked in coordinated groups, timing their assault to exploit the shield's reset window that Dr. Kim had identified. Nuclear missiles streaked across the void, their fusion warheads programmed to detonate simultaneously during the brief shield gap. For a moment, space erupted in brilliant atomic fire as 18 nuclear explosions bloomed against the alien hull. When the radiation cleared, Harvester Prime was still there, its dark hull unmarked by the assault. The aliens' armor was apparently as impervious as their shields. Commander Zethkri observed the human attack with growing interest. The primitives were showing more tactical sophistication than expected, and their nuclear weapons were actually quite impressive for such a young species. "Interesting," he mused to his tactical coordinator. "They've identified our shield cycle timing, increased the randomization protocol, and prepared to deploy hunter-killers." The alien ship began launching smaller craft, sleek vessels that moved with impossible agility through space. Each hunter-killer was the size of a human fighter, but packed with technology centuries ahead of anything Earth could produce. The hunter-killers tore through the second wave of human ships like wolves among sheep. Their energy weapons could penetrate any armor humanity had ever developed, while their speed and maneuverability made them nearly impossible to target. Captain Santos watched her task force disintegrate around her as the alien fighters carved through her formation. "All ships, scatter and regroup at Rally Point Bravo," she ordered, even as the Stalingrad shuddered under enemy fire. Only half the second wave made it to the rally point. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical display with growing desperation. Two-thirds of her fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons that made human technology look like stone axes. The quantum torpedoes were her last hope, but she needed to get them close enough to the alien ship to have any effect. "Third wave, prepare for final assault," she transmitted to the remaining ships. "All quantum torpedo vessels, this is our moment. Everything depends on the next 10 minutes. The third wave was built around humanity's most powerful warships. The dreadnought Invincible led the charge, supported by 6 heavy cruisers and the surviving destroyers from the earlier waves. Each of the major vessels carried one of Dr. Kim's quantum torpedoes, the exotic matter weapons representing humanity's last desperate gambit. The attack began with a coordinated EMP barrage designed to overwhelm the alien sensors. Nuclear warheads detonated in sequence, creating a cascade of electromagnetic interference that briefly blinded both sides. In that moment of confusion, the human ships charged directly at Harvester Prime, closing to point-blank range before the aliens could react effectively. The quantum torpedoes fired simultaneously, 12 exotic matter warheads racing toward their target at relativistic speeds. Commander Zethkri felt the first flicker of concern as the strange human weapons approached his ship. The energy signatures were unlike anything in the Vectar database, indicating technology that should have been impossible for such a primitive species. "Emergency defensive measures," he commanded, but it was too late. The quantum torpedoes struck Harvester Prime in a precisely coordinated pattern, their exotic matter payloads creating localized distortions in space-time that bypassed every defensive system the Vectar had ever conceived. 50 megaton fusion warheads detonated directly against the ship's hull, creating a chain reaction that tore through the vessel's superstructure. For the first time in 10,000 years, a Vectar warship was seriously damaged in combat. Alarms shrieked through Harvester Prime as entire sections of the ship vented atmosphere into space. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut as the vessel's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Commander Zethkri found himself thrown against a control console as the ship's systems struggled to compensate for massive structural damage. "Report," he demanded. "Hull breach in 17 sectors," replied the damage control coordinator. "Primary weapons offline, shield generators functioning at 30% capacity. Multiple system failures cascade-wide." For the first time in his long military career, Zethkri faced the possibility of defeat. These humans had somehow developed weapons that could threaten Vectar technology, an achievement that should have taken them millennia to accomplish. But the battle was far from over. Even damaged, Harvester Prime was still the most powerful weapon in the solar system. The remaining human ships had exhausted their most advanced weapons and were now vulnerable to counterattack. "Deploy all remaining hunter-killers," Zethkri ordered. "Destroy every human vessel in the system. Then prepare the planet-killer charges. If we cannot harvest this species, we will ensure they never threaten the Empire again." Admiral Morrison watched the alien ship burning in space and felt a moment of fierce satisfaction. Humanity had bloodied the nose of an interstellar empire, proving that technological superiority didn't guarantee victory. But her celebration was short-lived. The alien ship was launching every small craft it possessed, dozens of hunter-killers racing toward the surviving human vessels. And sensors were detecting new energy buildups within the alien ship itself, weapons charging for what appeared to be a bombardment of Earth. "All ships, protect the homeworld at all costs," Morrison transmitted. "They're going for Earth itself." The final phase of the battle was a desperate running fight as human ships tried to intercept the alien fighters before they could clear a path for Harvester Prime to attack Earth. The Invincible led the charge, her massive bulk absorbing enemy fire as her escorts tried to destroy the hunter-killers. Captain Sarah Chen, imprisoned aboard the alien vessel, felt the ship shudder as explosions rocked the hull. Through her cell's transparent walls, she could see Vectar crew members rushing through corridors, their movements sharp with panic and urgency. "Something's happening," she told the other prisoners. "The ship's taken damage." Chief Engineer Webb pressed his ear to the wall, listening to the vibrations running through the hull. "Major structural damage," he reported. "These aliens aren't invincible after all." As if summoned by his words, a group of Vectar guards entered the holding area. Their leader, a tall figure with multiple arms and cybernetic implants, gestured toward the humans with what might have been contempt. "Your species has proven more troublesome than anticipated," the alien said, its words translated by devices implanted in the prisoners' skulls. "Commander Zethkri has decided that humans are too dangerous to be allowed survival. You will have the honor of witnessing your homeworld's destruction before your own termination." Captain Chen stood slowly, her broken arm still splinted with makeshift materials. "You made one mistake," she said quietly. The alien guard tilted its head in what might have been curiosity. "You let us live long enough to see you bleed," Chen continued. "Now my people know you can be hurt. They'll never stop hunting you. Every human in the galaxy will remember what you did here, and they'll make you pay for it across every star system they can reach." The alien's response was interrupted by another massive explosion that sent it staggering against the wall. Through the ship's internal communication system, Chen could hear frantic reports of hull breaches and system failures. The battle for Earth's survival continued to rage around them, but something had fundamentally changed. Humanity had faced its first real test as a spacefaring species and had proven that courage and determination could overcome technological superiority. The war was far from over, but the aliens had learned a crucial lesson. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to make their enemies regret ever threatening them in the first place. In the cold vacuum between Earth and Moon, the damaged alien ship prepared for one final assault on the world below, but standing in its path were the survivors of humanity's fleet, battered and bloodied but still fighting. The Invincible and her escorts charged directly at Harvester Prime, their remaining weapons blazing as they closed for a final desperate ramming attack. Behind them, Earth's orbital defense platforms added their firepower to the assault, filling space with nuclear fire and righteous fury. Commander Zethkri watched the human ships approaching and felt something he had never experienced before. These primitives weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for revenge, for retribution against those who had dared threaten their home. As the first human ship struck his vessel's hull, Zethkri realized that the Vectar Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that technological superiority guaranteed victory, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to accept defeat, that would fight to the last breath and beyond. The ship that had vanished 8 weeks ago was gone forever. But its legacy lived on in the battle raging around Earth, in the courage of human crews willing to die for their species' freedom, and in the promise that this war was only the beginning. Humanity had been awakened to the dangers of the galaxy, and they would never forget those who had awakened them. Illes Prey. Let's show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home. The alien ship began its approach to Earth, massive and confident, and utterly unaware that it was flying into the teeth of a carefully prepared trap. Humanity's finest warships waited in the darkness, their crews ready to fight and die for their species' survival. The second phase of humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, the quantum message racing toward Earth and in the memories of the survivors who would one day return to exact a terrible price for this unprovoked attack. In the cold vacuum of space, among the drifting debris of the mining vessel, something glinted in the starlight, a small piece of hull plating, marked with the ship's registry and the emblem of the Earth Colonial Mining Consortium, a gravestone for humanity's innocence and a promise of retribution to come.